Hey everyone, good evening. I hope you're doing wonderful. So I came outside to get some fresh air and think, clear my mental space. You know, what I wanted to talk about tonight is shadow work. See, people all too often are afraid to do their own shadow work because that means that they have to look within themselves and they have to see the deeper things inside them that are not the positive traits that they love, but some of the deeper, darker thoughts that they hide in the back of their mind. And generally what happens is people have certain thoughts or darkened thoughts or things that they think about at times, and then they think that they're a bad person because they had thoughts that were dark. That's part of shadow work. It's called being human. Just because you have negative feelings doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just because you may have on occasion said, "Oh, I want to strangle some," you didn't really mean it. The problem was finding a way to express yourself that you could really convey what you were trying to say without knocking the fucking socks off someone. You know? So dealing with emotions. And a lot of times with shadow work, people don't want to look at the darker emotions, things that make them very angry, things that hurt their feelings, things that are hard to remember. Sometimes it's easier to forget, or it's easier to cover up. And by cover up, what I mean is, say something happened and you haven't done your mental shadow work and you're feeling real inside. You're feeling held back, depressed, weak, mentally inept, I don't know, inferior, whatever the feeling may be. I'm really just trying to give a broad range. And then you don't deal with it. So then what happens when you don't deal with these emotions that you have is you start to really become focused on them. You'll see your flaw in other people and then find yourself saying, "I can't stand them." You will judge the hell out of them. "Oh, that person right there, they no good, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they're always this emotion," whatever it may be. And oftentimes what you're really doing is you're projecting your feelings like a mirror out onto them. Because it's easier to look at other people's lives, like celebrities or friends or colleagues or peers, and say, it's their fault. Not mine, it's their fault. Instead of taking accountability for their self, you have to do your self-work to find your self-worth. Maybe that's why my name is Southworth currently. I'm learning my self-worth. But luckily, my maiden name is Callboy, C-A-U-L. So I was born in a cull, a special protective cull. Thank you. So anyway, you got to do your shadow work. Because if you don't, it's not going to help you to grow. You know, you could sit out here and watch movies, you could go to parties, you could have sex, you could do drugs, you could jump out of an airplane, you could do all kinds of things to get that dopamine going or to get that rush and adrenaline going, to where you're so busy in the moment, having fun, that you continue to repress those darker things inside that are hurting you. Guess what? When the fun's over, those dark feelings are still going to be there. They're still going to be unresolved unless you resolve them. You have to be willing to put in the work. Shadow work is the hardest thing, and a lot of people swear that by doing shadow work that you are acknowledging the devil, or that Lucifer is who you're worshiping. No, that's not true at all. What you're doing is you are embracing all of the feelings and emotions that are inside you that have built up based on the environment you're in, that have become toxic to your well-being, and you have learned how to not let them well up to where you fucking explode, but you deal with them. Self-accountability. It's hard to look at oneself. I do it and look at myself and say, man, that was a dumb move. That was ignorant. Could have done this better. Okay, so now I'm trying to do that. Instead of being worried about tomorrow, because that always happens. People, oh God, what am I going to do? The Bible tells us not to worry about tomorrow, but we still worry because we're humans. Well, let me give you a hint. Your actions right now, in this moment, today, ahora, now, are going to determine some of the stuff for tomorrow. So if you really want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, what is it you're setting up today? Faith without works is dead. You can't wait for a sky daddy to pop out the sky and the earth to just opens up and you just say, oh, everything is grand. No, he gives you the Holy Spirit. It's internal, and he helps you to cope and get through it. God didn't tell us we wouldn't have hard times. He told us he would get us through them. He wouldn't leave our side, right? So what I always pray for is that I'm equipped with the proper emotions to get through it. Not just the proper emotions, that I myself am fully centered and on the correct path. Because if you are in alignment with your synchronicity, you're going to win. So, oops, as I almost knocked my phone over, I just got a message come in, and I'm sorry. Let me check it for real quick. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had a message pop up on my phone that distracted me because it was important. And so kind of threw me off track of what I was saying. But shadow work. Don't ignore yourself. Don't ignore the darker things that are inside. I'm not saying act out on them. I'm not saying if you have a bad thought, act out on it. No. What I'm saying is take the thought captive. Okay, well, here's the thought. Where did it originate? Where did I get this thought? How come it's affecting me in this way? How have I allowed this emotion to overtake my better sensibilities to where I have now put my issues to the back burner because I won't deal with them because I'm too afraid to do the shadow work? Don't be afraid of your shadow. You could do it. We could do it together. Shadow work. It's hard to deal with emotions, and sometimes when you're really confronted with a piece of you that is really hurt, you got to just really dig in deep, because the only way you're going to overcome this is to confront it head on. You can't ignore it. You can't think all these great things that are about to happen in your life are going to overshadow the hurt that you have inside of you. No, that dark shadow is still there. You need to have light brought upon it by acknowledging what the trauma is. Why is it still holding so much of your life captive? And then you got to find a solution so you could release that. Do your shadow work. It sucks, but it's necessary. Now, I'm not saying you might not lose a friend or 200 through this process, because it's rough. But hopefully, if they're real friends, they'll be back. Same with, I would say, family. And in a lot of situations, I'd say blood is thicker than water. But, I don't know. I don't always find that to be the case, especially for people who grew up ritually abused, or with narcissistic abuse, or satanic abuse, or sexual abuse, or whatever. So, so you can see right there some of the evilness that I am still trying to overcome in my mind and heart and soul is some of the abuses that my family did to me in my younger days. Don't help having pedophiles in the fucking family. I had to grow up around pedophiles. Yep, I had to lock my door as a child so that grandpa wouldn't touch me. Step grandpa, because it wasn't my real grandpa. For one, and then the uncle who's a pervert. I have an uncle who was swept under the rug, and he's alive to this day, and I still like to try to bust him out, but everyone still tries to stand up for him. There's an Uncle Ron who's a fucking pervert who used to hang out at the schools, at the high schools, and stalk it out to try to pick up on girls. I've talked about this in at least 2 or 3 different videos, so I'm not really going to go into it. My point being, I still have abuses and stuff that I need to overcome and let go the anger from. Now, those 2 people that I named, they're not ones that I'm worried about for me, because Ron, he tried to get me, but he was unsuccessful. No thanks to my mother, because when I told my mom what happened, she just said, oh well, men will be men. Like it was okay for my uncle to try to do things with me as a young high schooler. But of course, people are walking by right now, so I gotta kind of tame down the conversation, because not everything is for everybody. So, shadow work is all I'm saying. Make sure to get your shadow work in. Once you get through it, you'll be so thankful and you'll be so much lighter, and it is worth it. And you will be like, gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? It don't matter. It doesn't have to be soon. It doesn't have to be, sooner per se. Just start now. Just start working on the stuff now. Little steps. Set a pace for yourself. The race isn't with anyone else. You always hear me saying this. It's just the race of you against you. Are you doing better now than you were before? Or are you making the effort to do your best to be a better person? Are you trying? Are you trying? So let's set some goals. Let's do our shadow work. Let's try to do something different. Let's try to forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Because when you release other people that harmed you from affecting your life anymore, they have no hold on you. They become a non sequitur anymore. They just don't. I said that wrong. That was cute. The person went by. I got distracted. Anyway, that's ADD moment. But staying grounded, focused, and having a goal in mind is important. Because as long as you have something that you could hope for and reach for, then there's reason to continue. All right, you guys. Well, the sun's starting to go down, so I will let you guys go for now. Have a good one. Peace.